PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
I'm just going to be a second.
Okay, fine.
Well, just give me a second. I'll be right back.
This is the kind of weekend we're having. This is why we're a day late this week.
Hold on a second. I got to go get my stuff. Give me a minute. I'll be back in a second. I mean it. Ow! Stubbed my toe.
All kinds of crazy stuff going on this week. Right here, right now, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown. I'm coming.
Like sands through the Blarney this weekend.
Sorry. Ran in the room. What are we doing? This is Subject Cinema. Sorry. I think I pulled a stitch in my side. Ow.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
This town needs an enema.
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Lasting out of Beantown, USA, you're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
How can you pull a stitch in your side? You don't have stitches.
I have.
You have a side stitch.
I have a stitch in my side. I'm trying to talk while there's a red-hot needle of pain poking me in the ribs. Stop it. And don't tell me I'm being melodramatic, because I know that's the next thing you're going to say.
Okay.
Owie.
Welcome to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 561, day and date, March 20th, 2017. We're a day late because of all the activity going on up here over the weekend.
And I stubbed my toe and I get no sympathy.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, toe. Would you like me to rub you?
No.
Anyway, we're here. We have a whole bunch of stuff this week. Masochistic March continues. We've got I mentioned a bit of the Blarney. We have an old review from us that's for a movie that's recently finally out where you can rent it, and it's a great film. And we got a whole bunch of little odds and ends that have been happening over the last couple of weeks. The reason we are so crazy this week is that we attended the Cloturtis Awards last night.
Yay!
And that's why we couldn't get the show up on time. And hopefully we'll have the rundown of the winners there a little bit later on in the show and all that stuff. So we hope you'll stick around. But right now, for those of you who may have forgotten, it's Masochistic March. Yes, it's Masochistic March.
Don't do that. And this
well, it is.
I know, but this one, wait till we talk about the actual movie.
We're doing martial arts all month, really, really awful martial arts movies. And we've seen some that have been worse.
We've seen some of them been definitely worse.
Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave.
You know,
I love watching her twitch whenever I say Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave.
Stop it! Gosh darn it, that's annoying. Sheesh. Now, the thing is, we have seen some really terrible martial arts movies. Lately, this month, we're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
It's not very often, though, that a martial arts movie has made me angry. This one made me angry.
So
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Thank you, Hulkat. In any case, let's fly back to 1980 and this terrible Bruceplotation film on this week's edition of Masochistic Martial Arts March.
Everybody is fighting. Your mind becomes fast as lightning.
Hey kids, time to jump in the car. Pull into a choice viewing spot. Put the speaker in the window. Sit back, relax, and suffer with everyone else. It's time for another trip to the Subject Cinema Drive-In Dungeon.
The clones of Bruce Lee.
The respected and loved Chinese superstar Bruce Lee has just died.
Starring Dragon Lee, Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lai.
Suddenly and without warning, he fell into a coma today.
The clones of Bruce Lee brings a new dimension to martial arts films.
Scientists and police made a momentous decision. They would create the clones of Bruce Lee.
Oh, this one hurt. Words fail me. We're going to have to come up with something to talk about here because it just really does fail me. We have...
Oh, I can think of a couple of words to use, but you won't let me use those.
We have 3 people. I know why you're angry. I don't blame you if I think I know why you're angry. We have 3 people who are here who are supposedly clones of the greatest martial arts person of all time. And boy, does Kim not like this film. From 1980, Bruce Lee, L-E, Dragon Lee, and Bruce Lai, L-A-I, or Lai.
We haven't figured out how to pronounce it.
Are the clones of Bruce Lee. Give us the rundown.
Okay. Oh, I'm really... Gag reflex.
Rundown first, then anger.
Gag reflex rising. Anyway, the clones of Bruce Lee's plot...
Well, it actually does have a plot. Unlike Ninja Champion a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it actually does have a plot, amazingly. It just sucks. The plot of this film takes place immediately after the tragic death of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, who died in 1973. So why it took them 7 years to make a movie, your guess is as good as mine.
Estate issues?
I don't know. Anyway, so the whole thing of this film is that Bruce Lee has died, which everyone keeps bringing up as they bring his body into the hospital where his remains are taken, and everyone keeps, Bruce Lee, the actor? No, Bruce Lee, the chiropodist. Who do you think is so important? You know...
Well, it is a common name.
Ugh. Anyway, but apparently Bruce Lee has been leading some sort of secret double life or something, which is implied by this film, that he
has a side job like Neil Connery.
Yeah, apparently. Mr. Collin of the Special Branch of Investigations, whatever the hell that is, has...
SBS?
SBI. Has a professor named Professor Lucas, who is a scientist, take some of Bruce Lee's blood, which I'm sure they have permission from the family for, not. And said blood, which looks suspiciously like Kool-Aid, is taken from Bruce and used to create 3 clones of Bruce Lee. Now, these clones are rapidly aged to adulthood, somehow, and also imbued with all of Bruce's martial arts skills. Again, see, somehow.
Are we sure Roger Corby isn't in the scene somewhere? I mean, he's got his little spinny thing.
Obscure Star Trek reference number 1. Keep count at home, kids. Anyway.
Everything in life revolves back to Star Trek.
Amen.
Anyway.
Preach, said the choir. Anyway. So they are given the incredibly difficult to follow names Bruce Lee 1, Bruce Lee 2, and Bruce Lee 3. And by now, Kim 1 is about to bang her head into the wall. Anyway, so...
There's more than one of you? That's terrifying.
Everybody in the world has a twin, according to some people.
That's really terrifying. Not just for you and me, but Stacy.
Well, that's when you think about it, that means Stacy's twin is sane and well-balanced.
Not necessarily.
Hi,
Might be
Stacey.
even more.
So, anyway. So, these 3 clones of Bruce Lee, who look like Bruce Lee in the fact that they are all Asian men with dark hair.
And the same hairstyle.
And the same hairstyle.
Although 2 of them do bear a passing resemblance, the third one really doesn't.
No. They are sent out to work for the Special Branch of Investigations thing that we have no idea what the hell it is, because apparently they can't use the IMF name because they'll get sued. They are trained in martial arts, to hone their skills, by one of the gentlemen who was actually in Enter the Dragon, but he's actually playing a part here. And they're supposed to go, they're clones, and they fight crime. Oh my God.
Sounds like an ABC sitcom.
Oh God, this movie hurts.
Obscure Who's Line reference. Anyway.
The first Bruce Lee clone is sent to go undercover at a movie studio where one of the producers is actually involved in a gold smuggling operation, and they decide that he is too good at martial arts, so he must be a government agent. What? And decide they're going to kill him on camera because that seems like a perfectly logical thing to do. What? Leave behind evidence? Screw that. We're watching a kung fu movie. Logic? That went out the window a long time ago.
Well, I think they were thinking accidental death.
Well, their whole thing was, we can sell this as his final film and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, for serious?
And his first film.
Yeah, I'm like, apparently Asian martial arts snuff films were really popular back in the early 80s. I don't know what the hell.
But they wouldn't have known it was a snuff film if it was supposed to look like an accident.
Well, yeah, okay. Anyway, so the other 2 clones are sent to Thailand, where they meet up with another SBI agent by the name of Chuck.
I think that's a tribute to Chuck Norris. Anyway.
Yeah, possibly. And they are supposed to deal with a villainous Dr. Nagai, who is an actual honest-to-blog mad scientist type, right down to the moo-ha-has.
I was going to say, complete with moo-ha-ha, yeah.
And his scheme to conquer the world, because everybody wants to do that in these movies, with his army of bronze men. Now, this does not mean he's got a clone army of George Hamilton's. He actually has...
No, that's bronzed.
Oh,
D.
Sorry. My bad. He has a formula that he injects into his willing minions, or semi-willing.
They're not willing from the look of it.
Well, no. They're also not very muscular from the look of it. We see more guys running around in shorts that I really didn't need to see in shorts. And somehow this compound turns their bodies into bronze. Which the last time I looked wasn't of your harder metals.
No, it's actually kind of soft. It's what they use to dip baby shoes and retainers in.
Yeah, I'm like...
At least back in the day.
Y'all were afraid you get sued if you did the Man of Steel thing? I know DC's got lawyers, but I mean, come on. And we get more martial arts and more mayhem, but things are not looking so bright and rosy once the clones all come back to their home base, because apparently... Professor Lucas is a bit of a disgruntled employee and has decided that if he is not going to get the recognition that he wants, he's going to have the Bruce clones fight each other to the death, which makes no sense at all. And whoever remaining will help the Doctor rule the world because he controls them. And will the nurses that are... The nurses are apparently appalled by this and decide to try and stop him. Will they succeed? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to make you watch this piece of dreck just like we had to.
I think it's interesting. If I may quote from the Kung Fu Cinema website.
Oh, God, quote away.
Mark Pollard described this film, and he's a writer over there, says it this way, and it's in the Wikipedia article. Quote, Clones of Bruce Lee is the Plan 9 of outer space of Hong Kong cinema. It's the very definition of bad filmmaking and sleazy exploitation. Expect to witness mad scientists bent on world domination, death rays, bronze men, and naked women frolicking on the beach. You forgot that the woman had her breasticles showing.
Oh, yeah.
Despite some decent kung fu action, particularly with Bolo, who is, I believe, the character that's in
He's
Enter
one of the
Dragon.
trainers. He's the gentleman that played the bad guy in Enter the Dragon.
It's so bad you'll laugh or turn it off, close quote.
I wish we could have turned it off.
No. Also, this film is the only film where you will see Dragon Lee and Bruce Lee L.E. fight, even though they both became big stars in exploitation, Bruceplotation stuff. This is the only film where they actually have a battle.
Yep.
And it's a pretty impressive battle.
Mm-hmm. As battles in terrible kung fu movies go.
I like the way that the article also shows that it's been called the Mount Rushmore of Bruceploitation films, similar to the way that The Room is the Citizen Kane of bad films.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, there are also a few scenes of naked women thrown in just so they could show boobs, which were, they're boobs. I mean, I know that interests some people, but
I do particularly remember that they were kind of saggy boobs, actually.
I just remember thinking y'all couldn't find any good-looking women.
I'm sorry, that was terribly sexist of me. I don't mean it to be.
No, I just was thinking to myself, okay, so these are obviously the director's, girlfriends.
Oh, now.
The director's girlfriends, and stuff like that.
Now, stop.
Can you go over the cast list, please?
Dragon Lee as Bruce Lee 1, Bruce Lee L.E. as Bruce Lee 2, Yi Tao Chang going under the name Bruce Lai L.A.I. as Bruce Lee 3, with Bruce Thai as Chuck Lee. They couldn't come up with another name. Plus Irina Shevchenko, John D. Ben as Professor Lucas, and Bolo Young, that's the guy from Into the Dragon, as one of their trainers.
Young, I think, is pronounced.
Young. As the martial arts trainer.
Yep.
And a lot more extras.
Uh-huh.
And a couple of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, really? This film was not even Hong Kong made. It was South Korean.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Man, this movie is bad.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen good films with a number of the Bruceploitation stars, mostly Bruce Lee L.E. and Bruce Lee L.I.
Yep.
They both became big stars because they had a fairly close resemblance to Bruce. Not as much as Dragon.
No,
Dragon Lee looks more like him than anybody.
Out of the three gentlemen that are supposed to be the clones of Bruce Lee in this film, Dragon Lee is the one who physically looks enough like Bruce Lee and has a lot of Bruce Lee's mannerisms.
Well, they're all doing the snapping and the nose thing, and I mean, it's just.
The second gentleman looks like Bruce Lee if you walked by a room and squinted.
This is one of those movies where I just long to look at the screen, see John Philip Law driving the little golf cart and yell, "Calgon, take me away!" Because anything, even Space Mutiny is better than this film.
I heard that. There is just so much wrong with this film. I mean, there really and truly is. I don't know what other way to word it. I think I might have made a mistake earlier on. Did I say Bruce Lee passed away in 1974 or 1973? 73. I did get it right.
Yeah,
I
you did get it right.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I thought I had screwed that up.
Yeah.
Okay. There are some actual good scenes of... See, the thing that aggravates
the action
me,
is fine.
The thing
kung
that
fu action is
aggravates me
fine.
is that there are some good scenes of martial arts.
Every other part of action and acting that goes on that's not very good. And that might be the dubbing.
No.
Some of it is the dubbing.
Not buying it.
Okay, fine.
Well, and I realize the next thing I'm going to say, some people are going to be like, oh, F you, Kim. But it's, the fact that there are no, and I mean no, strong female characters in this film.
What are you talking about? The two females that helped them kill the other guy, the doctor guy.
They help him break out of. They help the clones break the mind control. So yeah, okay, they're not. Yeah, but they're not like strong as in combative.
Well, they're not Wonder Woman for Pete's sake.
No.
That's not what this movie calls for.
Fine, okay. But I did.
They are more than the booby women.
They are. Yes, they are actually. They actually do stuff other than stand there and be topless. Which was really uncomfortable.
And which has shown up in all of these kind of movies.
Yeah.
What we've seen.
Yeah, it really is a strange thing, especially considering the fact that I watched a lot of really bad martial arts films.
Yeah, we both have.
As a child, and they were obviously very edited martial arts films, because I do not remember these arbitrarily naked women scenes popping up, because I would have remembered that.
And then there's Kunoichi.
Kunoichi is a different kind of a film.
It is.
It's a very different kind of a film.
Wow. And it's unintentionally hilarious and absolutely worth seeing.
Back to the clones of Bruce Lee and the fact that, now you guys, this is going to be a rant, so deal.
Kim Soapbox.
So this is why we're talking about getting angry.
I know.
This is the whole thing.
I'll play the Incredible Hulk theme behind you.
I love exploitation films. I think they're funny. I think they're, just goofy, and sometimes you just need something goofy and silly and dumb to watch and just have a laugh at, And nobody takes this stuff seriously. Nobody should take it seriously. That's why and there's all these different kinds of exploitation films out there. They've all got their own, niche kind of thing.
Yeah, believe it or not, there are actually people out there who enjoy Herschel Gordon Lewis and Doris Witchman.
Whoa.
And what's his name? The one that did Ninja Champion.
The director?
Yeah,
or
the director guy.
Oh. Damn.
I've forgotten his name already. What a shame.
There's tons of different kinds of exploitation films. There's blaxploitation. There's, there's sexploitation films. There's splatter stick films. There's all kinds of things, and they appeal to all kinds of people. And the whole Bruceploitation genre appeals to some people. And I understand that, and I'm fine with that. It does not appeal to me. It irritates me. No, actually, screw irritates me. It pisses me off.
Don't mince words, Bones. How do you really feel?
Simply because, and I know
some Star Trek reference number 2.
Yay! I know some people will be like, well, it's their way of honoring Bruce's memory. Blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. Tribble scat it is. It's their way of, it's the studio's way of making money after Bruce died. And
It's crass.
It's tacky. It's that's the thing. It's tacky. And I'm talking like white shoes after Labor Day tacky. I mean, there's doing stuff that is just like, oh man, I can't believe they actually went there. But this stuff is literally almost standing on the man's dead body and trying to make money off of it. And trying to make all of these people who were probably very good martial art, and some of them are very good martial artists in their own right, and making them have to copy Bruce's style. And that's not right, and that's an insult to them.
Well, a lot of them wanted to do that because it helped boost their careers.
Well, I think it's an insult to them. It's an insult to Bruce's memory. I mean, you can't capture lightning in a bottle. You just can't. And Bruce Lee was this amazing individual that just dripped charisma. I mean, the man just had charisma flowing off of him in waves. The men wanted to be him and the women wanted to be with him. He was this incredibly sensual, powerful figure that had this enormous amount of energy. And I'm sorry, I'm not disparaging anybody else or their efforts or anything like that as actors or as martial artists, but nobody else is ever going to be able to capitalize or capture that ever. It's just not going to happen.
Well, they capitalized on it fine here.
that capitalize on it in a good way, put it that way.
Okay.
And no one's ever going to be able to capture that. There's never going to be another Bruce Lee. Just like there's never going to be another Jimi Hendrix. Or there's never going to be another Kurt Cobain. Or Vincent van Gogh. Or something like that.
Right.
And there shouldn't be.
No.
You know, and I realize that some people are like, you know.
No, there are plenty of martial artists who have become famous on their own right, and as I've used this as an analogy more than once, it's like Bruce was their Julia Child. Without Julia Child, there would be no food culture that we have on television right now. Without Julia Child, there would be no Food Network. There would be no Create. There would be no other networks that deal almost exclusively with food and food shows. Bruce made Kung Fu popular and made it possible for people in America, made it possible for people like Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, Yuen Biao, and Donnie Yen, among others, to break loose and become stars in their own right.
Right.
None of them actually needed to exploit Bruce, though.
No. But Jackie Chan's actually talked about when he first was acting on his own, you know, like when he was doing, you know, he was the star of the film, they would put up these posters that would say, you know, Jackie Chan in tiny print is the new Bruce Lee, giant print. You know, that kind of a thing. I'm sorry, no. That's an insult to both men. That's saying that the people that made the film didn't believe in Jackie enough to let him carry the film on his own.
Well, that's how
wrong.
we see it. They see it as simply exploiting an audience who will come see anything with Bruce Lee on it.
I mean, and that's not right.
No, but it's how they did things in Hong Kong.
But to be honest, even though this movie is incredibly stupid, and it is incredibly stupid, I mean, when you think about that, this movie was made in 1980. 1980, and we hadn't even started scratching the surface of what cloning was. I'm like, so you think your cloning is just drawing blood from a dead person? And you're gonna get, and what? You know, and the sad thing is, we didn't even get like any science montages or anything like that. No, we just get, we've got clones now.
We don't want any 5th grade science lessons.
You know, it's like, what? These movies make me angry.
Clones of Bruce Lee is available for free if you are an Amazon Prime member. It's $3.99 if you do not have it. And I would hope that you are Prime members because I can't recommend spending $4 on it. But it is, for the action, a lot of fun. The story and the plot, as such as it is, are not. But you can definitely check it out. Next week on Masochistic Martial Arts Madness, we will round up our bad martial arts films with another film from 1980. This one centered on an American karate class and what happens when they go camping. Karate Kids USA, next week.
They don't run into Jason Voorhees, do they?
No, they run into Ann Southern, unfortunately.
That's even scarier.
It was in this film.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
His movies.
Way to go, Charlie.
I think it rips through your clothes when it takes you over.
More human than human is our motto.
He tasks me, and I shall have him.
Her movies.
The hills are alive. You're so jealous you can hardly breathe.
The rum!
Yes, the rum is gone.
Why is the rum gone?
Suddenly my life doesn't seem such a waste.
Fuzzy Fur Movies. The Cavebabble Podcast. We babble about the movies you love.
And probably a few that you love to hate.
Find out more at cavebabble.com. Also available on iTunes, Stitcher, and by Smoke Signal. C-A-V-E. Babble. Cavebabble.com. Movies for him, her, and you.
If you're looking for great films, well, that's okay. You'll like us anyway. Subject Cinema.
Seeing as how St. Patrick's Day has just passed, we've discovered that one of our favorite films from the past few years is now finally available for rental. And if you haven't seen it, we'd like to encourage you to see it. So, presenting it as a wee bit of the blarney, this is our 2011 review of The Runway.
Deja vu. What is it, and why does it occur?
Just had that little feeling. You ever get that funny little, that kind of feeling, that vuja day? You know, not deja vu. This is vuja day. This is the strange feeling that somehow none of this has ever happened before.
Deja Vu Review.
This is boring. Stumbling frogs. Nothing ever happens around here.
¿Quién más está contigo? ¡Contésteme! ¿En dónde estoy? ¿En dónde estoy?
My dad's Spanish. Me llamo Paco. I'm keeping.
Hola.
Mom!
Vengo de País.
We're heading toward a full show about the Boston festivals in May, and as we get there, we've seen a ton of them at 2 different festivals. We are reviewing them one by one. Back to the Irish Film Festival this year, and the story, a true story, sort of, about a little boy, a pilot who didn't speak English, and a runway in The Runway. Give us the 90-second rundown.
The Runway is the story of a sleepy town in County Cork in Ireland. The town was once a bustling business center, but has since fallen on hard times. It is also the story of a young boy named Paco. Now, Paco lives with his mother, whose name is Grace, and his father is out of the picture. His mother has told him that Paco's father is a Spanish sailor and he is away, but that he will return. Whether or not this is going to happen is a bit unlikely. Paco is learning Spanish so that he can communicate with his father when he comes back. He firmly believes that his father is going to come back. Into this sleepy town literally drops from the sky Ernesto. Ernesto is the pilot of a plane that crashes near the small town, and Paco, being the only person that speaks Spanish, convinces the people of the town through a slight bending of the truth that
slight bending of the truth
that things aren't quite what they seem, and that they need to get Paco. Paco convinces them that they need to help rebuild Ernesto's plane and to build a runway so that Ernesto can fly back to where he's from, which is actually Colombia. In the meantime, Ernesto is obviously getting very attracted to Grace, Paco's mother, and there's, the reaction of the townspeople. There's the relationship that grows between Ernesto and Paco. There is a lot going on in this film. It is a period piece set in the 80s in Ireland. Boy, that sounds weird to say. And it was just. It's a story about family. It's about community. It's dealing with the language barrier that occurs between Ernesto and the rest of the town, other than Paco.
And even Paco only understands about 10% of what he's saying.
Yeah, that's true. But at the heart of it, it is a story of family. And there's also a Battle of the Planets reference, which just had me completely over the moon. I was so excited.
Cast includes Carrie Condon as Grace Thomas, Paco's mom, James Cosmo as Sutherland, the mayor of the town, Demian Bashir as Ernesto, and 2 wonderful young actors who had never acted before, and they were fantastic. Jamie Kieran as Paco, and John Carpenter as his best friend, the gypsy known as Frogs. What did you think?
I thought this was a beautiful film. It was exciting. It was romantic in some places. It had some very nice twists. It was a beautiful, beautiful movie. A great film to see at the Irish Film Festival. I thought it was funny in some places and sad in other places. Very charming. The relationship that develops, the friendship that develops between Paco, who's desperately seeking a father figure, and Ernesto, who winds up having a son that he didn't even know he wanted in Paco, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful relationship to watch, the bonding between this man and this stranger and this child, and the friendship that grows between them, and the relationship that grows between Ernesto and Grace. The end of this movie had a lump in my throat and tears in my eyes. I thought it was just beautiful. I loved it. I recommend it to everybody. What about you?
I freaking love this film. I have, this was at a sold out performance at the Irish Film Festival, held this one at the Somerville Theater, and it is one of the funniest films I have seen in ages. It's a comedy of errors because, Ernesto, let's be honest, he's a drug runner. And Paco...
Well, he's smuggling emeralds.
Yeah, it's
emeralds, it's not drugs. It's emeralds.
Right. He's a smuggler.
He's dealing with some
Paco
very bad people.
Knows this.
Mm-hmm.
He knows this. And yet he keeps coming up with these things because they depend on Paco to be the translator. And he's a 10-year-old kid. And he's like translating things and saying things that he's not really saying, and Ernesto doesn't speak any English and doesn't pick up what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's how the whole thing about rebuilding the runway comes into play.
Mm-hmm. I just want to do a little correction on your casting. James Cosmo played Sutherland. Sutherland was the guy that owned the bike shop.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. You're right. And okay, it was one of the others. I wasn't sure who it was, but there's too many names, and not all of them are familiar.
I thought Jamie Cairns has a huge career in front of him if he wants it.
He's just a school kid from Ireland.
Yeah, but he was wonderful.
And he was absolutely a delight, and it has nothing to do with the Battle of the Planets reference on your part. But this film...
That was just an extra added moment of squee for me.
This film opened at I think it was Santa Barbara. It played one of the 4 big festivals, and it was on my list then, and I couldn't wait to see it. And I have got to be honest, this film charmed my socks off. It's pleasant, it's friendly, it's funny, it's family friendly except for some swear words, and it is downright. You will come out of this. I haven't come out of a movie with a smile that big since Wrist Cutters. This has been like that long. It is so freaking hilarious. What grade are you giving it?
I'm giving The Runway an A+.
Me too. The Runway. Don't miss it when it hits theaters this October. We loved this film, and The Runway marks the big starring role for Demian Bashir, who's become huge since then. If you've not checked it out, check on your on-demand system, check Amazon, Vudu, and other places. It's finally available for rental in America, and it is a movie that will charm your socks off. There was a reason we both gave it an A+. We hope you enjoy our little piece of Irish for you this weekend, The Runway.
No film is too good or too bad for us. This is Subject Cinema.
In a world where podcasts already seem to address every imaginable subject, one man broke new ground with a seemingly random obsession about exploding helicopters in movies. He was a podcaster on the edge, a maverick broadcaster who played by his own rules. Now, he has a last chance to talk about the strange way helicopters explode in film. Exploding Helicopter, available on iTunes and Podomatic now. Think you know about chopper fireballs? Think again.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema.
We missed Freeze Frame last week, so we got to get it back in this week. And there's a perfect story. I got to admit, later and then a little bit later on, we're going to have a little bit of a bashing on Netflix. But, for all the ills that Netflix is doing to the theater world, and I'll go into that when Star Wars coming up later in the show. On the day before my birthday last week, Netflix announced it has come to a deal and will finance and distribute Orson Welles' final film, The Other Side of the Wind. This thing has been in limbo for 48 years. It first shot the film between 1970 and 1976, so 47 years, I guess, and could not finish his vision of it before he died in 1985. Since then, people have claimed rights to it. There's been all these legal issues over it. All of that is now settled, was settled last year. Netflix is hiring one of Welles' closest friends and proteges, director, producer, actor Peter Bogdanovich, to help put this final thing together. Now, for those of you who don't know what it is, he shot it between 1970 and 1976, and it's a found footage film. This was really early for that. This predates Cannibal Holocaust.
Wow.
Of a director's birthday party, a despondent director's birthday party. Sounds an awful lot like SOB. And he ends up dead, but they don't know whether he was murdered or he committed suicide. So this is what happens, and they go through this. John Huston plays the director. I'm really interested in seeing what they do with this, because I've become a Welles fan since seeing Citizen Kane for the first time. I've become an immense fan of most of his stuff. I'm not terribly enamored with The Magnificent Ambersons, and that's the only movie that he's done that I've seen that I haven't really cared for. I adore Touch of Evil. It was brilliant. Yeah. Although he didn't write it or direct it, supposedly, his work in The Third Man is stellar. And there's Welles' touch all over it, even though
I was going to say,
Carol Reed was the director, and Orson could be obnoxious to work with at the time, but everybody insists Orson had very little anything to do with anything but his part.
It's just the fact that when you hear about Orson Welles being in a film that he didn't direct, and you're like, well, so-and-so directed the film, and you're like...
Well, he didn't direct Casino Royale, and he was in that. He played Le Chief.
I know.
I'm like, okay, I don't know. And that's the 1966 parody, 65 parody.
Wow.
Seriously, though, this is a big news.
It is. It's enormous news. Especially for film historians who have always said that the first big found footage film to make it, to really splash it across the screen was Cannibal Holocaust. If this was before that, that sets everything on its ear.
Here's how IndieWire described it. Let me see which, I'm going to give the right writers credit it's due. From Andrew Lappin on IndieWire. The first part comprises scenes from the 70th birthday party of a macho director named Jake Hannaford, played by real-life macho director John Huston, a pompous auteur who exhibits some similarities to Welles but is largely modeled after Ernest Hemingway. The scenes are shot in a mix of styles cutting between the cameras of the party guests and news reporters decades before found footage techniques became prominent. Bogdanovich, who plays the young director whose relationship to Hannaford mirrors his own with Welles, offered his house to the director as one of the central locations. The second part of the film is snippets from Hannaford's latest film, largely dialogue-free experiment that's sort of a parody of some art house hits of the period, particularly Blow Up, which was a Antonici film, I believe, from 1967. That segment stars Oja Kodar, who was Welles' lady at the time and would later star in F for Fake with him. I mean, for all the ills of the world that Netflix does, if they can pull this off where nobody's been able to do it in the last, it's fallen through 3 times in the last 5 years. If they can pull this off, I will be there with bells on the day it premieres on Netflix to watch it. And I mean, it's going to be 3 hours and something long.
Yeah.
And I will be there.
A 3-hour Orson Welles film, that's your idea of a really well-spent afternoon.
A well-spent afternoon.
See what he did there?
So anyway, I think that this is exciting news, and I'm hoping they can pull it off, because I've been intrigued by this film since I first read about it a few years ago. a lot of the interesting stuff in F for Fake shows up, in this movie shows up in F for Fake because he shot the two movies at the same time.
Mhm.
When he was having trouble working on the other side of the wind, he would shoot more of F for Fake, which is a brilliant film, and if you've never seen it, talk about Rick rolling. Oh my Lord. This film is...
The thing is, F for Fake is Rick rolling, but you knew it.
You knew it was coming, and still you walked right into it. Yeah.
If you pay attention to every single word he says, you know you're going to get screwed.
Yeah.
And you
This is one of the reasons I loved Orson Welles.
Yep.
I loved him as a person. Whenever I'd see him on The Tonight Show or anything, I would sit there and watch him, even when I was younger. Before I really knew his films, I found him to be a fascinating guest.
See, I really didn't. I remember him from when I was. I remember him from when I was a child because of those Paul Masson commercials, and I really didn't know who he was. My parents knew who he was, and I remember my parents being like, "Oh, he's doing commercials. Isn't that strange?" And I was always kind of like, "Who is he?" But I never wanted to say, flat out ask who he was, but it's funny how those things stick in your brain. But definitely, if Netflix can pull this off, major kudos to them.
Yeah, there's still been funding issues. That's why it's still fallen through the last couple of times. And
I bet if they got a Kickstarter going, they'd get it funded pretty quick.
According to the gentleman that's taking care of the production on this, look at his name here. He's the guy that announced it a few years ago. Their full name is Philippe Jean Rizma, who started the Kickstarter, who was involved with the negotiations before. But Netflix has already made a commitment to raise the money, and also they've committed to producing DVDs and Blu-rays for collectors who want to buy them. So that's beyond anything Netflix has ever done before. But I'm looking forward to this, and we'll see how far it goes actually. Do you think it will actually happen? That's what I want to know. Please drop us a line. Let us know what you think of this news and what you think, whether this will actually happen. The long-delayed release of Orson Welles' final film, Subject Cinema, at PNRNetworks.com.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Suffering succotash! Boston Spring the Festival!
Okay, you thought Boston Springs the Festival stuff has been crazy in the past. This year, it's pull your hair out. We thought we got through to all the Boston film festivals. It's like, schedule your festivals on separate weeks, because that way everybody that has a chance to go can go. They've done that for a couple years now. It's actually been pretty balanced out, but not this year. There's 3 going on at the same time this week, 3 going on at the same time next week, plus shows at the Belmont World Film Series and the Dockyard, and it's insane. This is what we're doing this week. Now, the Belmont World Film kicked off on Sunday the 19th. It went opposite the third day of the Boston Turkish Film Festival and the Boston Area Film Society Clotrudis' annual awards ceremony, all on the same night. The Boston Turkish Film Festival began last week, will run through part of this week and part of next week, and it was there at the beginning. Wednesday, it will be joined by the Boston Underground Film Festival, which is all the subversive films, and then Thursday by the Irish Film Festival, showcasing 4 nights of Irish entertainment. Okay, and that's just this week. Next week, the Turkish Film Festival will continue. The Underground and Irish Film Festivals end on Sunday. And then come Real Abilities Boston, which starts on the 29th. And it is the festival that celebrates disability-oriented stuff. And it's really got some great stuff this year, including Asperger's or Us and Life Animated and a whole bunch of good stuff. The next night, it's joined by the Wicked Queer Boston LGBTQ Film Festival, and it runs through April 9th. Now, during those time frames, Belmont World Film will also be running 3 films on the 27th, the 3rd, and the 9th, Dockyard on the 20th and the 3rd. So it gets to be this conglomeration of everybody is on the same night. We can't get to any of it. And that's proving to be true. Now, we're actually making an effort to get to the Irish and the Underground and even a film at the Turkish Film Festival that I'm rather keen on seeing. And we will do the same for a couple of films at Wicked Queer. The Real Ability stuff, a lot of it's available on Netflix and we can watch it there. And the same with Belmont World Film Series. So it gets kind of crazy at this time of year. The next 2 weeks are going to drive us nuts. Then we have a week of breathing easy before the International gets underway. International starts on the 13th and goes through the 17th of April. And then at the end of the month, after another week, finally the big one in the spring in Boston, the Independent Film Festival Boston gets underway April 26th through May 3rd. They are the only festival as yet that have not announced their lineup. Brian usually doesn't announce until the first week of April, so we probably won't know those films for another couple of weeks. But usually, there's a lot of Sundance and Slamdance carryover, sometimes some Toronto carryover, and a few area premieres. I'd like to see Brian get a world premiere this year because International pulled it off, and they've never done it before. They're world premiering The Lost City of Z on April 13th. So, it's like, wow. The next 2 weeks are going to be crazy. We'll have all of this for you on a Boston Springs of Festival double play weekend, which is coming up May 20th and 21st. 2 shows. We will I gotta get my calendar down here. Yes, May 20th and 21st. The 20th will be all about the festivals, and the 21st, all about the movie reviews. It'll cover the Salem Film Fest, the Irish Film Fest, the Underground Film Fest, the Turkish Fest, Wicked Queer, Real Abilities, International, IFFB, and Belmont World Film Dockyard. Another festival that came to our attention after it was over, the Global Film Festival at Studio Cinema, and also February's Boston Sci-Fi Festival. It's going to be crazy, and it's coming up on a double feature weekend, May 20th and 21st, right here on Subject Cinema. And that is what's going on in the Boston Springs of Festival 2017.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
This should be the last red carpet monitor we have to do for this year. The 2017 Young Artist Awards were handed out on Friday night, day and date, St. Patrick's Day, actually, the 17th. I have to admit, I'm disappointed by the fact that people I wanted to win didn't win, but we'll run them down for you. In the new media category, the winners, young actor went to Bradley Bundley for Danny the Manny. Teen actor went to Walker Satterwhite for Junk Drawer Magic. That's a mouthful. Junk Drawer Magic. Young actress went to Lauren Thompson for BMO CAO, and teen actress to Cassandra Tusa for Jenny and Jeff. In the voiceover category, the winners, young actor winner was Samuel Farisi for Rusty Rivets. Teen actor went to Grant Palmer for The Loud House. Young actress went to Ciara Alexis for Luna Petunia. And Berkeley Silverman, the teen actress winner for Paw Patrol. We should point out that young actor is 12 and under, and teen actor are 13 and above to like 18. For best performance in the television series, recurring young actor went to Carter Ryan Ivancic for When Calls the Heart. Recurring teen actor to Trevor Larkham for Fresh Off the Boat. Recurring young actress to Asia Monet Ray for Grey's Anatomy. Recurring teen actress to Lulu Lambros for Stuck in the Middle. Guest starring young actor went to Ian Chen for Loosely Exactly Nicole. Guest starring teen actor to Rio Mangini for Teen Wolf. Guest starring young actress, Sinai Victoria from Lab Rats Elite Force. And guest starring teen actress Hilary Brooke Walker for Chicago Med. Supporting actor, young actor went to Anthony LaPena for Blackish. Supporting young actress to Sienna Sidney for Roots. Leading young actor to Ethan Hutchinson for Queen Sugar. Leading teen actor to Hudson Yang for Fresh Off the Boat. Leading young actress to Alira Caldwell for Uncle Buck. And leading teen actress to Julia Tomasoni for Backstage. For best performances in a TV, movie, or special, young actor went to Christian Convery for The Christmas List, and young actress to Madison Bridges for Love You Like Christmas. For best performance in a digital television series or film, young actor went to Hunter Payton for Who's Driving Doug, teen actor to Sloan Morgan Siegel for Gordimer and the Fault in Our Street, young actress to Pilot or Pillow, Paisley Rose for All Hallows Eve, and teen actress to Carly Roberts for Little Miss Perfect. In the feature film category, supporting young actor to Caleb Brown for Mother's Day, leading young actor Julian Fetter in Poe, for supporting teen actor Seth Lee in The Accountant, and leading teen actor Jackson Martin for Sleeping Giant, beating both Theo Taplitz and Michael Barbieri for Little Men. Damn it, anyway. Supporting young actress Alexia Nisanson for Middle School, The Worst Years of My Life. Leading young actress Sophia Rosinski for The Other Side of the Door. Supporting teen actress Claire Foley for The Great Gilly Hopkins. And leading teen actress Una Lawrence for Pete's Dragon. There were also winners for commercials and a number of other things. The Young Artist Awards are put on every spring. And it's nice to see that there is a group out there that actually supports young actors more than like the Emmys or the Oscars, where they never seem to get deserved nomination. Theo Taplitz. The reason the show is late this week is because Sunday night the Clotrudis Awards were handed out. The Clotrudis Awards are actually known as the Trudies, otherwise known as the Cat on a Stick. And they are handed out every year by the Clotrudis Society for Independent Film here in Boston, of which Kim and I are members. We were presenters last night. And the winners are thus: the best movie went to Moonlight. Buried Treasure, which is our signature award, went to Free Indeed, which was also up for a couple of Spirit Awards this year. Best Director, Barry Jenkins for Moonlight. Best Actress, Isabelle Huppert for Elle. Best Actor, Joel Edgerton for Loving, unfortunately beating out Theo Taplitz. Best Supporting Actress, Lily Gladstone for what's the name of that film? Certain Women. Best Supporting Actor to Mahershala Ali for Moonlight. There's a surprise. And Best Supporting. He also beat Lucas Hedges from Manchester by the Sea and Michael Barbieri from Little Men. That's me. Best Original Screenplay went to The Lobster. Best Adapted Screenplay to The Saver, which is a film that is not yet available in America. It's made the rounds to the Clotrudis people, and yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so I didn't get to vote for it. But it is, it's said to be something spectacular. Best Use of Music in a Film went to Sing Street. Best Editing to Matthew Lachau for Mountains May Depart. Best Cinematography to Diego Garcia for Cemetery of Splendor. Best Production Design to Zhang B. Ryu for The Handmaiden. And Best Performance by an Ensemble Cast went to Moonlighting. Best Documentary to Ava DuVernay's Netflix prison documentary, 13th. So congratulations to all the winners, and also special award winner Logan Miller, who was named Clotrudis' Breakthrough Artist this year. Logan was on hand at the ceremony. Very funny acceptance speech. We got to see some great clips from his recent movies, including Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, which not enough people saw and was a lot better than anybody gave it credit for. And he was very nice, and we hope that next year's Clotrudis Awards will bring more crazy independent films to the forefront and show them off for you, because we'll tell you probably about them before you'll hear about them there. But, you know, we try to bring those to you too. So congratulations to all of this year's Clotrudis winners as well.
T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema. Flash.
Festival Flash! For those of you who were under a rock in the last couple of weeks, South by Southwest was this past couple of weeks. We mentioned them on Front Row 5 and 10 last week because Grumpy Cat was there. And we were talking about Grumpy Cat on 5 and 10. They announced their audience winners on Thursday of last week. These are, of course, the winners that were voted on by the audiences at the festival. The festival full winners were announced a couple weeks ago, which I think I can get those too. Yeah, I think so. We'll see. The audience winners were as follows. The narrative feature competition went to The Light of the Moon, director Jessica Thompson. The documentary feature award went to Delt, director Luke Coram. The audience award winner and headliners was Baby Driver from Edgar Wright. This is the new film coming out in August with Ansel Elgort, Jamie Foxx, and it's been, I guess, they were actually calling it a race car musical because most of it is music, not dialogue. I don't know. It sounds interesting. The narrative spotlight award winner was Mr. Roosevelt from director Noel Wells. Documentary spotlight winner, Untold Tales of Armistead Maupin from Jennifer M. Crute. The Visions award was Becoming Bond by Josh Greenbaum. Midnighters went to 68 Kill from Trent Haga. The new upcoming Netflix series Dear White People won Best Episodic from director Justin Simien, who also wrote and created the original film. 24 Beats Per Second, which are music-oriented movies, won May It Last, A Portrait of the Abbott Brothers, directed by Judd Apatow and Michael Bonfiglio. The global winner was Divine Divas from director Leandra Leal. Festival favorite winner was The Big Sick, which won a bunch of awards at Sundance. Michael Showalter there. And title design went to Into the Current from directors Chris Moberg and Jared Young. And I don't have that list of regular winners here, but these are all the audience winners. And the audience is very important at South by Southwest. One of the other things that happened at South by Southwest was the world premiere of a work in progress, the new James Franco film, The Disaster Artist. Now, those of you guys who've been part of this show for a while, this is the film based on Greg Sestero's autobiography, which recounts the making of the worst film of all time, according to some critics, Tommy Wiseau's The Room.
I'd go along with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think The Room is incredibly fun. It's bad.
I'd rather watch that than watch the Bruce Lee movie, The Clones.
Oh, I'd rather watch The Room anytime over most of the bad films we see because it's freaking hilarious. It premiered as a work in progress, but the reviews were singled out as just being huge. It finished with a B+ or above with most of the critics. Many people have said this is James Franco's finest hour as an actor. James is playing Tommy Wiseau in this film, in addition to directing. And people say he was in character the entire shoot.
I can understand that because I would think it would be very difficult to get out of character and then go back in again.
What we have to decide is whether or not it's going to be a commercial success. Warner currently owns the film. They're thinking about selling it to a smaller specialty distributor because they're worried it won't have mass appeal because not everybody knows what The Room is. I disagree. I think the movie, which is played as a buddy comedy, and they don't actually get to the making of the movie until the final third of the film. It's an interesting idea, and it shows the friendship that developed between Greg and Tommy. If you've never read Greg Sestero's book, you should, or listen to the audio edition. It is an amazing glimpse inside the way this film was made.
I can't see a lot of...
Greg played Mark, by the way.
I can't see a lot of people going to this film who haven't seen The Room first.
Well, I don't agree. I think people who have seen The Room will automatically go and love it. People who haven't seen The Room may go see this to see what all the fuss is about and then seek out the original film when they see the crazy kind of antics that were on this film.
That might be.
I mean, surprisingly enough, one or two critics were actually talking an Oscar nomination for Franco. That's amazing. And as I told Kim that day, can you imagine the thought of Tommy Wiseau at the Academy Awards. Oh my God. That is so scary.
Pardon me, I have to go off in the corner and laugh maniacally.
There is still no release date. It was premiered as a work in progress. But, you know, I have been waiting for this film. This film is rife with cameos. They got Sharon Stone as Iris Burton, who is Greg's manager. She's a super power broker and was at the time in Hollywood. You've got Jackie Weaver playing Claudette in the film, the lady who has to deadpan about breast cancer. You've got Ari Grainer playing Lisa, Josh Hutcherson playing Denny, and their actors, respectively, Philip Haldeman, and I've forgotten the name of the lady that played Lisa, I'm sorry. And Zac Efron, supposedly unrecognizable in his makeup. He's playing the drug dealer, Chris G. This is going to be... I can't wait for this film. I have been salivating since this was first announced a year and a half ago. I wish
you
we'd been
actually
able...
read Greg's book.
I loved Greg's book. If you've never read Greg's book, you've got to read it. And we're new to this, too. We've only seen The Room in the last 5 years.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people saw it in the late 2000s as opposed to the current 10s. Tennies? Is that what we were in?
I guess so, yeah.
Teens? We saw it, I think, for the first time in 2011, 2012, when we did the first Masochistic March.
Yep.
And I would still love to see... Well, we did see it with a crowd when Riff Tracks did it. It was a lot of fun, and Stacy will probably never forgive us.
Nope.
That it was a lot of fun. I can't wait for this.
I haven't forgiven us.
My gut says August as a release date. But if they're serious about Oscar, they may play the actual premiere of the film... may come in Toronto with an October release date. We'll see what happens. But I don't know, but I'm really, really jazzed by the reviews, and I hope it's a huge success. I'm not the biggest James Franco fan in the world. I like him as an actor. I'm not so certain about him as a director or writer because some of his stuff is just completely out there. Memoria. So it's like, okay. But I'm really looking forward to this. And the only thing that really kind of stings me here about this film is his casting his brother, Dave, as Greg. Dave is tall. And I mean, Greg is tall. Dave is not.
No.
Greg is blonde. Dave is not. They didn't try to change his hair color or anything for the film. So, it's going to be a little weird, but hey, I'll take what I can get, and I like Dave and everything else I've seen him in. So it's like, okay. Anyway, that's Festival Flash for this week.
Welcome to the soundtrack of your life. You're listening to Subject Cinema with TC Kirkham and Kim Brown.
So this thing we want to do, what exactly is it?
I think it's a podcast.
I think he just made that word up. Anyway, what would it be about? It can be about those things we see in the things, you know, with the pictures and the acting, and sometimes Ryan Gosling.
Oh, you mean films?
Yeah, those. We can talk about those. And Ryan Gosling. And what would we call it?
Women who speak weirdly?
Ladies? Young ladies? All the single ladies? Oh, wait, I know. Oh, chicks with accents.
Yeah, and we could use that song from the Beatles and that movie, Across the Universe.
Cool. Yeah. Listen to the Across the Universe podcast, brought to you by the Chicks with Accents.
Available just about everywhere.
We've got the films you're looking for. Subject Cinema with TC and Kim.
Off the Rails.
Kim's actually stepped out of the room for a moment, so it's time for me to get to do a little off-the-rails ranting, if it were. I don't know how many of our listeners have noticed, but over the last few months, we've been expanding our coverage as far as the number of places where you can now listen to PNRNetworks shows. We started, of course, years ago on Mevio. We were on Mevio for many years, and then Mevio kicked all of its audio-only podcasters off, and we moved to Libsyn. That was about 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago. And they've been very, very helpful over there. And Libsyn has been actually very, very cool place to be because I get all these cool ideas, even though I don't get free hosting anymore. We do get all these cool ideas from their various help stuff. One thing they can't help us with is the trouble we're running into now broadcasting our show through our YouTube channel. We're loading all of our audio programming onto YouTube now, as well as special video projects that we've done here and there. And you know something? I never really had a problem with YouTube over the years. YouTube has, there's a whole issue, and there's tons of issues about copyright issue, use and infringement and stuff. And YouTube and the record labels out there and the various publishing companies have teamed up to try and stop piracy with a program called Content ID. The problem is Content ID has no knowledge of the concept of the term fair use. Under the term of fair use, you're supposed to be allowed to use up to 30 seconds of a song or whatever without infringing, because you are trying to, you're promoting it or you're doing something with it. As long as you're not doing anything to make money by it, you are, in effect, borrowing the use of that song. You're promoting it. Well, this has become a major issue between me and YouTube because we use clips generally all the time. I am always careful to keep the clips down to, music clips especially, down to under 30 seconds, or right at 30 seconds, which is supposed to be the cutoff limit. The system is run by computers, so it has no way of knowing, hey, a person's not hearing this and saying, that doesn't infringe. It's a computer hearing the beat of the song, matching it to something in their library and going, nope, sorry, bing, 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 bing. Now, to the credit of YouTube, they have it set up so most of the time you don't get knocked off, you don't get a copyright hit. You get a notice saying the song or whatever you used in your upload is noted as copyrighted by blah, 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 blah. Your material is still online, still available, and you're not in trouble. It simply means that the owner of this can monetize this, and you can't. It was never my intention to monetize this stuff on YouTube anyway. I mean, I would like to, eventually, but it has never been my intention to do that. My intention was to give us a bigger area for places to really look at the show and say, hey, this is a really cool show. So, the trouble really when we first started loading on YouTube last year, I got hit a couple of times for music that I have legally licensed. It's background music made for production companies, for radio, for television. We have a license. We use it. And I've complained about YouTube to that, and they seem to ignore those uses anymore because I've told them, hey, I have a license for this. But frequently I'll pop in a popular song to drop in as a intro or as a lead. We picked Drive It Like You Stole It from Sing Street as our end theme for 2017, and every week the damn thing gets hit, even though it's 28 seconds long. Every week. I'm like, are you kidding me here? We're not hurting you. We're trying to promote Sing Street as one of our favorite movies from last year, and we love this song. We think it should have been a hit. Boo to the people who didn't see it or buy it. It should have been a radio hit. As you well know, because we had the star of Sing Street, Ferdia Walsh-Pilo, on the Rising Stars honors list last year. But the purpose was just to use it as a cool song to end with. Now, interestingly enough, we never got hit for our end theme music last year. And I've already forgotten what song we used. I believe we were using the Roundhouse stuff at part of the time. We were using something else. But we used this actual song. So, I decided, all right, let's experiment. I took the song out of the end of the show last week. And I thought, hey, maybe we'll get through without a trouble. We got hit with the clip of the song Bastian's Happy Flight we used behind crowdfunders for the Noah Hathaway donation thing. I'm like, are you kidding? There was not even 20 seconds of this piece up there. So needless to say, I am freaking pissed at YouTube. This Content ID thing, it needs to be overhauled. somehow, I don't care how, somebody needs to start a class action lawsuit and sue YouTube and sue the labels and sue everybody else until they agree to work this in so that it recognizes fair use. This is becoming an issue, not just on YouTube, but across the board. It's becoming a major issue, not just on YouTube, but across the board. Everybody's complaining about it. Read TechDirt.com and you'll see all kinds of horror stories about copyright stuff. And 9 times out of 10, the person using the song is in the right. They're not trying to pilfer the song. Like I said, I'm just trying to add ambiance to our show. I'm not really giving a crap about, I'm not trying to steal your music. I'm not trying to be God forbid, a pirate. I am against all that stuff too. In fact, we've talked about that on this show. And sometimes, yes, it's overblown. But in this case, it's really overblown. Because most of this stuff is uploaded by kids who are putting music behind a video or whatever. Now, there's an interesting lawsuit making its way through the court system about a video of a dancing baby and Prince's Let's Go Crazy being used in the background. That's not a suit from the label. We talked about that a couple years ago when it first came out. This lawsuit is starting to turn in the person's favor, away from the labels and all the corporate people. And so I'm hoping that this will get through and they'll declare, no, this is a fair use thing. It wasn't intentional and therefore is allowed. Because if that happens, they're going to have to rewrite the entire system. So please keep an eye on copyright issues. And when you see something unfair being screwed around with on YouTube or any other place, let them know you're pissed about it. Let me know it's happening at Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com because I'd like to hear about it. I'm getting tired of these soulless corporations being able to put a thing in our show that allows them to monetize the show they have nothing to do with, and that the clips I'm using are fair use and not giving them a legal right to do so. I have a feeling this is going to be happening a lot in the future. And if it is, we'll do the best we can. I mean, as long as we don't get hit. When we get hit and it says you could have a copyright hit, then I take it down, excise the clip, and I reload it. Which has only happened once. And that was just ridiculous because it was a movie clip. It was an audio clip from a trailer. Most of the time we don't get hit with those, and most of the studios understand, there are movie shows out there on podcast world that do these and they need these clips and blah, blah, blah. I'm at the point where I'm about ready to explode when it comes to YouTube and its content ID system. So, I'm going to keep an eye on things. You won't be hearing Drive It Like You Stole It at the end of the show anymore, and there's going to be, all kinds of hell if this doesn't stop, because this really does need to. I'm going to start I'm going to break out my crayons and start writing letters, because this is getting utterly ridiculous when we have no intention of pirating the song. We're just trying to give our listeners a fun show. Okay? So all the greedy corporate labels out there and the TV people and the movie people, keep your pants on and remember, we're giving you free publicity. Remember? Free publicity. That's how it works. I could go on and on about this, but I'm not going to. If you've got a comment on it, please let me know. Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com. And thank you for letting me rant.
Subject Cinema!
Last week we brought to your attention a crowdfunder item for actor Noah Hathaway. Noah is currently trying to afford a lot of medical expenses due to a back operation and also some much-needed medical care for his pets. And we brought that to you. It's done really well, and I'm continuing to tweet and Facebook it 2 or 3 times a week. We hope that you'll go over and check it out. It's at www.gofundme.com/Noah Hathaway. It's being run by his friend Gregor Gillespie. Now, we did notice on this week's, when I checked it, that there's a lot of interesting comments from people. I can't really call them trolls because they have some interesting concerns. Some of the documents on the site are blacked out, redacted and people are claiming that the actual total charges are not what he actually owes, and they're worried about getting scammed and such. Personally, for me, I doubt that's happening. Noah's always been a stand-up guy, according to all the fans that have ever met him, and I kind of doubt that that's actually going on. However, we did send an inquiry to Gregor and Noah, asking them if they wanted to set the record straight on this and comment on it. We did not hear back from them, and so I'm not sure if what they will say, but if they do get back to us in the next week, we'll bring it to you next weekend on Subject Cinema. And I would encourage you to please donate, because personally, we donated. We hope you do too. This kind of, it's a devastating back injury that Noah actually suffered on the set of The Never-Ending Story when he was 12. And it's caused him problems all his life. And we hope that the donations that we made and that everybody is making will help defray those medical expenses a little bit. They have a long way to go to reach their goal, but we hope that you will take the time to check it out and donate yourself.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Plug Central. Time to hawk our own wares. Oh, whoops. I'm going to bring the microphone over. Time to hawk our own wares, so to speak, on Plug Central this week. I want to remind you that we have a whole bunch of other programs out there that we hope you'll listen to. If you're already subscribed to Subject Cinema, you already know about Front Row 5 and 10. It's our list show. It's up every Thursday, supposedly. And we do goofy lists. We've done some crazy lists in the past. We're doing a music list this week. The top 10 song. Him wanted to do top 10 songs with places in the title, cities or cities mentioned in songs that have streets or something. That'll be fun. That's coming up Thursday. You can also subscribe to our update shows that happen twice a week. Tuesday Digidex on Tuesdays and 3 Minute Weekend on Fridays, both at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. They are compact shows under 10 minutes with a couple of ads for our buddies in the Lamb Podcasting Network, and all the rundown of the stuff coming out right at that moment. Tuesday Digidex covers the releases on DVD, Blu-ray, and on demand. We also give you specific listings for Criterion Collection, Netflix, and occasionally Amazon Prime. If anybody has any ideas of new sources I can find for Amazon Prime's information, they are a bitch to find stuff for. And I would love to, if you've got a website or whatever, shoot me an email with it so I can do more research. What I look at now, I only tend to put stuff on the show if it's brand new. And once in a while, I'll mention a classic. I brought up Charlie Bartlett a couple of weeks ago because, one, I love that film, and two, anybody that can see one of late Anton Yelchin's best movies is gravy. So I brought that up. So anyway, that's out every Tuesday, and every Friday there's 3 Minute Weekend running down all the latest theater, all the latest films in the U.S. theaters only. It only covers the U.S. That weekend. We do all the big releases, all the indie releases, and we hope that you will check those out as well. There's also Platinum Rose's Garden with Kim. It is off the air until April 1st right now because Supernatural is on a hiatus, but normally she is here every Saturday night with her update and her recap of that week's Supernatural episode. She loves her Winchester boys, and boy does it show. Remember, Platinum Rose's Garden is not safe for work, people. There's also my new show, Catastrophe Vortex. I was late with it for a couple times. Might be late with it this week, although I'm going to try and get it up on time. We cover disaster movies. One really big movie, one sort of gem that I like that maybe not known to other people, and one real clunker, plus disasters mentioned on television, in songs, and a lot more. Catastrophe Vortex at catastrophevortex.com. Finally, there's Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon. It's up every weekend with all the latest, usually with a great movie review, plus you never know what Eric and Valerie Lyon are going to bring up on their show. Could be comics, books, TV, even Cavebabble eats odd things, and it'll be fun. It's always fun. Cavebabble.com. Now, a couple other things I want to bring to your attention real quick. Number one, our Patreon campaign. I have been stressing for the last couple of weeks that if you guys just donate at the $2 level and just agree to donate $2 a month, if all of our listeners would do that according to what our stats are, we would be almost all the way to our second goal. Please $2 a month is all we're asking. It's really simple to sign up. Go to patreon.com/PNRNetworks and pick that $2 place. So if you want your name on the site, you got to go to the $10 level. If you want even more cool perks, you got to go higher. But, for $2, you will get, you'll have the satisfaction of knowing you're supporting not just Subject Cinema, but all of our sites and podcasts. And we will acknowledge you in some way. I think it's a Twitter shout out. And we thank you for that. Please donate. We really need to update our equipment, and we cannot do it until we make those goals. I'm desperate. Please donate. Come over and donate $2 a month, and we'll get there. PNRNetworks, patreon.com/PNRNetworks. The other thing I want to mention is our SoundCloud channel. We are now on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, YouTube, as you probably already heard or will hear in an off the rails in this show somewhere. SoundCloud is going to be a little bit special in the next few weeks. In the next couple of weeks, I'm not sure what day it's going to happen, I am going to start uploading some classic Subject Cinema shows to SoundCloud. SoundCloud only has our current stuff back from like November of last year. I'm picking out the shows that have been some of our most listened to or most commented shows of the past 11 years. We'll be doing the Biker Show, the Misty Show, the Star Trek Show. They'll be up over the next few weeks. We're still going to do the Rick Seabach Show. Anyway, Subject Cinema's classics will appear only on SoundCloud, or you can connect with it on eCinemaOne.com. It won't be available on the feeds. So if you subscribe, you're going to have to physically go to our SoundCloud channel or to eCinemaOne to get the lowdown when these go up. Hopefully, they will start going up later this week, but at the latest, probably next Sunday. And if you've got a particular episode that you think other new listeners would like to check out on SoundCloud, please drop us a line. We love to hear from you. Our email address is subjectcinema@pnrnetworks.com. You can tweet us. I'm at what am I at? I'm at eCinemaOne and eCinemaBoston on Twitter. Kim is at Platinum Rose Lady. I think it's Platinum Rose Lady. It might be Platinum Rose L. She's not in the room at the moment. And we love to hear from you. So please connect with us, and also go to facebook.com/Popcorn and Roses. You can still connect with us there, and I'm also with my personal site there. So we hope to hear from you. We hope you'll donate. We hope you'll spread the word about Subject Cinema. We appreciate it if you would retweet our tweets, especially right now. During the month of March, Libsyn is running this special thing, or actually, I think it's actually, they're participating in it. When you listen to Subject Cinema, please go over and retweet you're listening to Subject Cinema or any of the PNR Network shows with the hashtag Tripod, TRYPOD, so that everybody knows that the shows are out there and should be listened to. And you can do that for all of our programming, and each show has its own code, too. So we appreciate you do the second code for Subject Cinema. It's hashtag TripodSC. And for other shows, they each have their own shows, the initials of the show, usually. So please take part, and please tweet about Subject Cinema and our other shows, and make sure you use the Tripod hashtag. And that's Plug Central for this week.
Your every man's film school. This is Subject Cinema.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars.
It's been a while since we did a Star Wars. We mentioned Netflix earlier, and I got to bring this up because it is turning into a really ugly battle between Netflix CEO Reed Hastings and Tim League, the CEO and owner of Alamo Drafthouse. This is going to get ugly in the short term and really ugly in the long term. Netflix has been blasted by the members of the National Organization of Theater Owners, NATO, National Association of Theater Owners, because he's constantly putting down the theatrical model. This last week at a gathering of, at Netflix headquarters, Reed Hastings was quoted as saying, "How did distribution innovate in the movie business in the last 30 years? Well, the popcorn tastes better, but that's about it. And he went on to say, what Netflix wants to do is unleash film. It's fundamentally about growing the movie business. And I'm thinking to myself, and I said this last week, I said, he's so full of it. This isn't about movies, it's about Netflix. The bottom line is about Netflix. Netflix is making a bunch of changes right now. They're dropping their 5-star ratings for thumbs up, thumbs down, which a lot of critics are upset about. They feel it's going to contribute to even more crap like Rotten Tomatoes and other sites. And it's going to screw up because they're saying, well, the thumbs up, thumbs down will work better for the artificial intelligence that they have on Netflix to pull lists up, but that's not true. And in fact, IndieWire's Eric Cohn completely tears it apart, thing by thing, about how that's completely wrong.
I don't think that if no one asked my opinion, but I would prefer to have numbers of stars. That way,
this is why we give letter grades
and stuff.
We give letter grades, and I mean that makes more sense to me. So this week, Tim League from Alamo Drafthouse came out swinging. In fact, it was today. So I'm really glad we were a day late this week. Netflix. It seems like every other interview I give asks me about the threat of Netflix. I'll be blunt. Netflix doesn't concern me, and I think it's obvious after last week that the cinema industry is no concern of Netflix's either. We're in a very different business. Let me define those businesses. Netflix is in the business of growing a global customer base by being the best value proposition subscription content platform. And they're doing a great job. Their portal is stable, intuitive, cheap, and delivers plenty of great new content every month. They also provide a fantastic financial opportunity for both emerging and veteran storytellers. I stand in awe of the audience they have built and the wealth they have amassed in such a short time. But here's my business. Cinema. Cinemas are in the business of offering an incredible immersive experience that you simply cannot duplicate at home. Our job is to put it on a show and provide a great value proposition for getting out of the house, turning off your phone everywhere except at Alamo, but nowhere else, and enjoying great stories in the best possible environment. At our best, cinemas should also be local community centers with a real tangible relationship to their surrounding neighborhood. Last week, Reed Hastings once again dumped on my industry. He summarized the innovation of cinema in the past 30 years by saying, well, the popcorn tastes better, but that's about it. While our industry has not shown the vision and truly game-changing innovation of Netflix, Hastings' antagonistic approach to cinema inadvertently exposes an underlying disrespect to the creators and auteurs that drive this entire machine. Our best and most talented, passionate filmmakers vehemently do not want their films to be viewed first and foremost on a phone, on the train to work, while checking email, while chopping vegetables for the evening meal, on mute with subtitles while rocking a baby to sleep, or while dozing off before bed. The reality is most Netflix content is being consumed in a less than ideal environment. Great filmmakers create content to share their fully realized creations in a cinema with full, rich sound, bright, crisp picture, and a respectful audience whose full attention is on the screen. Because of that, when courting filmmakers young and old to create content for their platform, I wish Netflix would consider the relationship with cinemas built by Amazon, Hulu, HBO, Showtime, and Epic. They all believe in cinemas as meaningful partners and also respect those filmmakers who want a meaningful theatrical engagements for their film. They believe in the promotional partnership that successful theatrical engagements can give to word of mouth, awards consideration, brand loyalty, and ultimately maximize financial return. Amazon, for example, will be at CinemaCon next week, building and strengthening their relationship with cinemas instead of tearing it down the week before. He goes on to talk a lot about the different stuff that goes on. But this is the comment that I made on this article on IndieWire. And I made it a few weeks ago on Subject Cinema, and I'll make it now. I'll say what I said on Subject Cinema a few weeks back. Unless Netflix gets into theatrical distribution seriously, not this piddly-ass piecemeal stuff that they're doing now with Epic, IPIC theaters, They're not making Oscar films and are screwing serious filmmakers big time. They are making TV movies. And the hardworking filmmaker who is so proud when he takes his film to Sundance, South by Southwest, or Toronto will have to settle for an Emmy Award instead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. No disrespect to the Emmys. They're important for television. But these movies, guys, producers, directors, people involved with the theatrical people at, distribution, read the contracts, tell them in the contracts, I want Netflix's money after they've released it in theaters for at least 4 weeks in 500 theaters.
Yep.
Do not let them do this, because they will ruin the industry and the theatrical industry as we know it. I love Netflix, don't get me wrong, they're great, but in this aspect, they are destroying the movie industry. And then that's just me. And so I gotta say I side with Tim in the Star Wars. I think you do too.
I do too.
And Star Wars, we'll be back as soon as we have another goodie. I have a feeling there's going to be more at a CinemaCon. So we'll probably have something in a couple of weeks to rant about then. We would be remiss if we waited until next month's Take a Bow to not mention the passing of perhaps the most important person in rock music history this past weekend.
Yeah.
Chuck Berry passed away on Saturday. He was 90. This is the man who took R&B and rock and fused them and became one of the biggest influential performers of the last 70 years. He was just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
If you heard him in the early days or you heard him now, heard him on classics like Johnny Be Good or more recent stuff, he's done recent Grammy-nominated stuff where it's been bluesy and working with some of the top rock bands. Or in between, when Kim was a kid and didn't realize My Ding-a-Ling was from 1972.
I had no idea.
And not 1959.
Nope. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that song until I was in my teens or 20s.
Dr. Demento, probably.
Dr. Demento, yeah. I heard it on Dr. Demento, and I was like, oh my gosh.
People forget. They think that Chuck Berry's been around as a legend for years, but they do forget that his last big chart hit was My Ding-a-Ling in 1972. He hit number one with it in America.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it was the first major league double entendre song I can remember that blatant to hit the top of the chart. It's like, oh, wow.
Considering the fact that a lot of radio stations were like, hell no, we're not playing that.
You couldn't even get radio stations to play Uneasy Rider a couple years later, and that just said damn and hell.
No, well, yeah.
So,
But Chuck Berry was 90 years old and passed away on Saturday. He is one of the pioneers of rock and roll. He's one of the reasons a lot of people got into rock and roll and did, some amazing stuff and lots of amazing work. Songs like Roll Over Beethoven, Johnny Be Good, Sweet Little 16.
Which was later adapted by Brian Wilson into Surfing USA. Mm-hmm. With Chuck Berry's permission, by the way. Eventually, yeah.
It took going to court to get that on there.
Yeah.
He definitely had a lot of charisma, a lot of swagger. He loved to be on stage and entertain, and he was one of those musicians that you couldn't take your eyes off of him when he was on stage, because thing, you had to watch him because he went everywhere. He was like,
and the way his fingers moved on those frets were pretty amazing, and the man kept working until like the last year or so. I mean, I remember he was reading someplace that he was playing as recently as a year ago, at least. And he was, like I said, the more recent times he was recording with some of, didn't he do a whole album with one of the Seattle grunge bands? It wasn't Pearl Jam, that was Neil Young, but somebody did. He did something with a major rock band in the last few years. And I don't remember which one it was, but I remember it was up for a Grammy. He was a pioneer that is not ever going to be replaced. He was funny as hell to watch on stage too.
Yeah.
He had a dry wit that was amazingly funny. I remember him appearing on Dick Clark's Live Wednesday. Anybody else remember that show? Lasted for 13 weeks in 1978. I remember him appearing on that and the two of them reminiscing about rock and roll a couple 20 years earlier. And to think he was still going strong 35, 40 years after that, that's pretty amazing. Mr. Barry, we salute you in the best way possible, and we know this world will never be the same without you.
The last reel.
Sesame Street's always been groundbreaking on stuff like this, and this is a great thing in its own way.
It is, definitely. There is a new Muppet character joining the cast of Sesame Street. Her name is Julia. She is 4 years old and has red hair and a stuffed bunny toy that she loves very much. And Julia has autism, which is a move that I think is incredibly brave on the part of the Sesame Street writers and stuff like that. The person that is working the puppet for Julia, I believe their son has autism.
It says a child here. It doesn't say which sex. But puppeteer Stacey Gordon does have a child that's part of the autism spectrum. So that's going to give her some personal insight into how to handle the character.
Definitely. And I think it's a really cool thing because this is going to make autism for some kids that are, younger kids that might have kids that are autistic in their schools and their playgroups and stuff like that, make it a little bit less scary for them. Just showing them that kids with autism are kids, just like them.
According to her best friend, Abby Cadabby, Julia has excellent drawing skills and loves to sing, and sometimes Big Bird has to say things more than once to get her attention, but that's just Julia being Julia.
Yeah. And I think that's really sweet.
It is, and it's great that they're doing this, and this is not the first time they've explored controversial topics.
No.
Although they've never explored some of the big controversial topics, but we'll get into that some other time. But for right now, welcome Julia to Sesame Street, and that's the last reel. And of course, those of you who listen to the show and listen to my rant know why we haven't got music clips for some of the stuff in here. Yeah, I could put Sesame Street on, or I could put, different stuff over here. But listen, you heard my little off the rails rant, so it's like, okay, that's why I'm not doing that anymore. And I even had to cut out half our theme song.
Yeah.
So it stinks. We'll be back next week with our final Masochistic March for 2017, and we hope you'll be here too. This next week is going to be insane with the Boston Springs Festival stuff going on. We're going to be exhausted. So hopefully we'll be up on time this week. We may be late. I'm going to be honest. It may not be Sunday next week either, because we have all these things to do for the various festivals. But I'm hoping we could do something.
Yep.
And of course we'll have all the coverage of that in May. Any other things going on this week that you want to bring up here at the last minute?
No, I can't think of anything.
Let's fly on out of here then. For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
And may you always be fascinated when Bruce Lee fights back from the grave.
Damn it! I'm gonna get a crick in my neck and I'm gonna be so mad.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, Continent to continent, right here 24/7.